welcome to the AC Report. I'm Chris Ferrells, and today we're very lucky to have Valerie Chittister today. And then, so to give you a little bit of background of her, she's a UCF student. She volunteered 5 years at A Gift for Teaching. She's an operating intern there as well. And then now, currently she's an ambassador for UCF of the College of Business. She received certification from BB&T on leadership. And currently she's a senior at UCF, and she's pursuing a marketing degree. All right, well, thank you for coming on, Valerie.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start things off with a simple question. Tell me about your experience thus far at UCF.
As a conservative or just?
Yeah, just as a conservative or in general.
All right, so thus far the atmosphere pretty much shows that conservatives feel hushed on campus, where liberals feel more free to express their opinion even in class. So even in business classes where you don't really expect much perhaps political conversations to take place, they do. It can be positive or negative. Some positive conversations were from finance or accounting classes, where the professor brought up how the economy will boom and how good it'll be for the stock market and for businesses without bringing up Trump's name. But it was still good of him to do that, so I felt like he understands. But on the other hand, like for my marketing classes or for any other type of class like philosophy, extracurricular classes, they kind of brought up the negative connotation about Trump. So it was kind of intimidating to bring up my opinion in a class of 200 to 500 people.
Gotcha. So when the professor did bring up Trump, either indirectly or directly, like when it was a positive feeling, did you kind of feel like the crowd was a little shush on it or awkward, or were they very supportive?
Well, for the accounting or finance classes, which his name was not really brought up, but it was kind of implied, I felt some tension around me, like some people are like gritting their teeth, but at the same time people were like appreciative, like they were nodding their heads like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. Economically it makes sense because of his policies. While for my philosophy class, the teacher was very angry. He was just an angry person that you bring up Trump and he just, his whole face, his body language, his actual language is very negative. And you see some nods of approval and people that are like, yeah, you're right. But other people like me, there's very few of us, mind you. We just kind of, turn the other cheek and, bit our tongue. Because it's our professor, you want to be respectful, but you don't want to jeopardize your grade or anything.
No, I get that, and I know that's a big word for conservatives on campus, to make sure their grade isn't jeopardized. I mean, Ben Shapiro talked about this a lot, like when he was a senior, he wrote like Bernie Sanders to get an A, but he would talk out in class like a true conservative, just to get his points across. So I'm going to ask you about talking out in class. Like, was there ever experience, whether you or a fellow classmate that talked out in class, maybe even supporting Trump, or not necessarily Trump, but just like the conservative or libertarian movement?
Yeah, back to the philosophy class where these discussions, tend to take place, and especially during that time, it was summer of 2016, so this is when Trump just announced that he would be running. And so there were a few classmates that, before we entered class, they would ask me, so what do you think about it? And I would just say generally that, well, his policies are really good, and you should just take the time to read about it and see for yourself without making, extreme opinions about it. And so they were bringing up, crossing the border and how some families don't really have a choice, and they go into like selling drugs and putting their families through such tough times. And then I kind of let it slip that I was a conservative. That, well, conservatives, what we think is that this is not right, not just because, legally, but also morally, you would not put your family through that. Selling your kids to drug cartels or through smugglers. That's not the morally right thing to do as a parent. So in the middle of class, the professor would bring it up about Trump. It was always very negative. It was every class time. It was during summer. It was like once a week. And so they would try to talk to me during class, these students that I thought were kind of my friends, but they kind of put me on the spot in the middle of class and the teacher was talking. So at the same time, I was trying to shush them up, like we want to be respectful, but then I hear him saying such negative things, but I want to tell her the truth, that you don't want to listen to him because he's just angry. Yeah. Right. And to bring up one student that did speak up, he just totally belittled him. The teacher belittled him completely. The teacher brought up like that quote from the fake news media about how Trump generalized that all Mexicans were racist. But the student, clarified that and said that no, this is just the select few he's talking about that actually did commit rape that were from Mexico. So my regret is that I did not stand up with that person, because the teacher he sent a mass email afterwards saying that you heard this one student speak up, but here's an article showing he was wrong.
Wow.
And of course, during the end of the semester review, I did write very detailed, evaluation on what happened. And I don't know what happened to that teacher, but I don't have to deal with him anymore, so.
No, that's good. And the one thing is, because I've actually personally met like the UCF president and all that, and they're honestly very good people, but they are very leftward leaning. I mean, that's true. So even something like that we would find bad, saying like they have such a liberal bias, might even be a compliment to them, because they think they're, for lack of a better term, indoctrinating like the students for a good cause. I'm very sorry that you've been hushed. What seems to be like the most controversial topic on campus, politically wise?
Well, let's see. The biggest thing was just during the election. You would just hear like little whispers like Trump's name, and people just say something negative about it. Or like in that one class that we had together, what was it? It was sales.
Yeah.
One student would bring up how terrible Republicans are, like following through with their policies, like what happened in Puerto Rico in the hurricane season. Republicans didn't do anything about it, and how it's their fault, or how racist they are.
Yeah. And
it was kind of, I see that you're with me in the class, and you're trying to tell her that no, this is the facts, and I was kind of in the middle, like I don't know if I should say anything or not, trying to. So for those who don't know, because you guys weren't there, we were taking an introduction to sales class, probably our junior year, I believe. And so this was right after a major hurricane, and she was blaming Republicans for the fact that a hurricane happened. And I said, this is the most ridiculous thing you've ever done. And I was like, if you want to talk about whether big government or small government is best, or capitalism or socialism is best, I'll do that all day. And then so she just didn't want to hear any of it, because of course we're conservative. But I think the biggest thing that bothered me was later on in the year, she brought up police brutality, which is a very, very sensitive issue on campus. And I'm going to ask you a little bit about actually that topic, because we live in Florida, Central Florida, where Trayvon Martin happened and all that. But like I remember I was just going over basic facts with her, and like, hey, like FBI reports have shown that like cops were actually a lot more, they're more willing to shoot whites than blacks. Like, like I understand, black Americans go to prison more, but they commit 50, at least, I don't remember the exact number, but it's over 50% of the U.S. crime, which is, a huge number, considering they only make up like 12 or 13% of the population. So, I mean, especially with police brutality being a thing on campus. I know Knights for Socialism is very active on campus. I mean, like, have you ever had to talk about that awkward topic with police brutality, or like has there ever been protests on campus, or even maybe even riots, or? Oh yeah, like walking through the student union like courtyard area where a bunch of like tents are set up, and there are different groups there. The socialist group on campus has become more prevalent, which is surprising to me considering how negative it is. I'm just surprised people accept it so readily and embrace it. You just hear them. There's like a what do you call it, a field trip where like kindergartners or first graders, they're just so young, it's hard to tell nowadays. But they're doing a field trip there, and the socialist group is there, and they're telling them that, yeah, do you want free stuff? Is it a good thing? That's what socialism is. Or if you would like if you like education, if you want to go to college, that's what socialism is. And I'm like, that's such general statements. That's so false, and you're indoctrinating young kids. That is like evil to me. You're trying to brainwash kids. They don't even know anything yet. They just started. So I was just shaking my head the whole time, and I was like, no, I gotta hold my tongue, because it's like 3 of them and only 1 of me, right?
Yeah.
And because I don't know, the way that their body language is, they can just. I don't know if they're going to get in my face or anything, and I have no way to defend myself, so for me, I just, turned the other cheek and just walked away.
No, it is very intimidating for our conservatives. I mean, conservatives are definitely outnumbered on the college campus. I mean, it's insane. And I don't like that rhetoric. Like, they really think conservatives are anti-healthcare or anti-education. No, we just have a different solution. One that's actually proven by numbers to be better. Like, so I know a lot of conservatives, especially myself, we want to privatize, healthcare. We want to privatize education, because typically when you privatize something, it gets cheaper and the quality gets better. Like,
Yeah.
that's how things work. There's a reason why Starbucks is amazing and the DMV is horrific. I mean, that's like
Yeah,
the
very
basic
true.
example. But I do want to keep going on, and I want to go over more controversial topics. Like, so, were you on campus like a couple days after the election happened when Trump won? Were you on campus during that time, or were you away?
I don't think I had a class during that time. I might have been at home, but I did hear that in the library there was like just a mob of people that right after the election they were just so upset, and also there was a rally. I heard of that too. But I don't. It was not as bad as Berkeley or anything. I'm just grateful that there was no violent riots.
That's good, yeah.
So I wasn't there during that time, which I'm kind of grateful for. But at the same time, I wish I was there to see firsthand what actually happened rather than just hearing it.
Oh, definitely. Now, I know Obama came to campus. I know Bill Clinton came to campus. I know even celebrities or athletes who support liberal agendas, such as Alonzo Mourning. I mean, and a couple more UCF athletes over here. Like, I know they're welcome to speak on campus, and when they do speak, they sometimes get the arena, or like it's very easy to get. I mean, I know Trump came one time, and that was met with violent protests and all that. I see. Were there any other major conservative campus speakers that are invited on campus, or is that kind of shushed, or are they welcome?
Well, if they do come, it's very difficult to actually hear when they're coming. Like, I heard that Charlie Kirk was coming from you, and unfortunately I wasn't able to go, and I really wish I could. But when Obama came to campus, everyone seemed to know about it. And not just because, he was the president, but also, everyone kind of accepts him. Except for the select few, because people ask me, are you going to go? And of course, it's final exams week, and I was like, well, I'd much rather go home and study. And some of them were like, but this is your president. Isn't that ironic?
I was going to say, I remember before, when Obama was president, everyone was like, oh, you're treasonous if you don't support the president. And now they, hold up a picture of Donald Trump's head being, cut off, and they don't see that being an issue.
It's a double standard.
Oh, it is ridiculous. So, do you know of any conservative groups on campus? Because I know you know my group, Turning Point USA, but do you know of any other groups on campus at all?
Yeah, there's the Young Libertarian group, there's the Republican group, which I have spoken with them just to see, exactly where they stand and if they really know anything that's going on. They were just mostly handing out pamphlets, and I didn't really feel much support from the Republican group, which is quite surprising. I guess because maybe there's a lack of support for them, they probably feel kind of burned out, which is understandable. But I feel like they should have more drive.
Yeah.
Well, the Turning Point USA group have a huge drive and passion for it, and I really wish the Republican group would stand up and have the same passion.
Oh, yeah. I think especially because I can only speak about the Turning Point USA group. I don't really do any work for the college Republicans. Is we want to go out there and debate and change minds. We don't want to just say capitalism is awesome and hand out funny shirts or go hunting. It's not really a social group for us. So I know you personally came out to a Change My Mind session that I hosted. And for those who don't know, the Change My Mind session, we go on campuses and we'll say, I'm pro-gun, change my mind, and we'll invite everyone from the left and right to kind of come change my mind and just have an open conversation. It's very civil. Everything is recorded too. I mean, there's no threat. I mean, you've been to one of those. You saw even Knights for Socials that came up to us and even when they started screaming, I was like, hey, let's just talk. Let's have a civil conversation. And most people did, honestly. It was very nice. But so I know we have the Change My Mind session from our side of the floor. Do you see any open conversation or any open dialect on the other side of the floor, from the liberals or even socialists?
Well, I know that, yeah, the socialists definitely. They do have signs up, and they would ask people to have a conversation with them. But when I hear them talking, there really is no facts behind it. It's mostly just the same regurgitated information that they've been given, and they just say the same thing over and over. So I don't know how that's going to persuade people. But also during the election, there was a huge crowd of leftist groups that were for Hillary Clinton. So there was a huge mass of them with signs and the H with the arrow, and there was stuff chalk written on the floor. And also there's the small group that were for Trump on the other side, right across from them. And I was surprised to see that there really was no fighting, which was kind of, it was surprising.
That's nice though.
Yeah, but again, that was just the moment I happened to walk through. So I don't know if maybe later on they might have, which, that'd be more believable if they would have.
Yeah. No, but it's good that there was actually, like civil discourse. I mean, we definitely don't want fighting to happen. I mean, that's ridiculous. Nothing ever gets done in those type of situations. I mean, the best thing to do is to make sure you have open dialogue. I mean, I think that's the biggest difference between a liberal and someone on the left. Is like a liberal, like we just disagree on big government versus small government, but they want freedom of speech to still be a thing, and I appreciate that. Like I'll talk to the Democratic Party all the time, but like I feel like the Knights for Socialists, that's where we start seeing people like trying to shut us down, tear down our posters, and unfortunately they just don't. I mean, they think America sucks, so why hold up the Constitution that allows us to have freedom of speech? So I see the struggle, and I'm glad you are open for open dialogue. I do have a couple of questions, so I'm going to list a couple of events that happened on campus. I want to see if you've ever heard about it, if you partaked in it, or if you didn't even know these were things that happened on the UCF campus. So we're going to do stuff from the right and left too, so just to kind of see where the range is. So I know the YAF group. They once a year do a tear down the Berlin Wall little event. Have you even heard about that at all?
I think you mentioned it to me before, but I was not there during the event to actually witness what actually goes on.
Alright, so like outside of me, because obviously we're good friends, and like I tell you, like would you have heard about it at all? Did you see a poster?
No, it wasn't really, like in the College of Business, they don't really advertise political things at all. Like I think I saw a poster of like getting rid of the white guilt one time, and that was torn down.
Awesome.
But that was pretty much it, which I really wish they would allow, and it's not really it's not a bad group at all. They actually have open discussions. I think especially in business, there's a lot of political discussions in business. It's politically driven sometimes, so I really wish they would have allowed it, but no. Other than you telling me, I didn't hear about it.
Okay, no worries. I like that you mentioned that though. Like in business, like you should be able to, especially there, like have open discussions. Because especially in like European countries, like when you do business over there, they won't even do a business deal with you if you can't answer tough questions. And that's something we actually learned in at UCF. So going on, did you hear about the Love Trump's Hate protests on campus?
I have heard of
Like, did you
those
see
protests,
anything,
but
or?
I don't think I saw. I might have seen people like with signs. It's the usual thing, just with the signs. They would ask people like, they would just say like the saying "Love Trump's Hate," whatever, and it was written on chalk on the floor. But I didn't feel offended by it. I just thought, well, they're just kind of confused about where the facts really are. So, like, God bless.
Yeah.
Just, whatever. I'd rather not talk with him.
Did you hear about the open forum that conservatives and libertarians had for the Second Amendment?
I mean, I've seen a table, like a guy sitting down. There was like a picture of the rifle in front, and people have gone up to him, but I only saw him once though, which is too bad. But no, I haven't heard of that either.
Okay, no worries. And then, have you ever heard of the wage gap day, where like people will sell like girls cookies for 75 cents, but guys for $1?
No, I haven't. I heard the Girl Scouts were on campus, but I didn't know that's what they were doing.
But it wasn't the Girl Scouts. It was like a left party. It was kind of like nice, but yeah, it was all that.
Gosh.
No worries, no worries.
Wow.
Okay. I was going to ask you about professors bringing up Trump in class, and then if you're a witness ever, you kind of spoke on that a little bit. Has anyone ever like had a guest speaker come on campus? So like for a marketing class, and you just wanted to say like hear about marketing, and they went off on a tangent, or in a good or bad way, about any president. Like, because I remember one time like I had a professor bring up Obama randomly, and it was just one of those like we want to know about how to sell better to customers, and he was talking about healthcare, and I was just like, this has nothing to do with the class. Like, did that ever happen to you?
Well, I mean, everyone seems to just adore Obama. He's like the darling of that party. So, yeah, he was brought up a lot. I guess I was just so used to it. I just, I'm kind of numb to it, I guess. Let's see. But thinking about it.
And this could be for any president too. It doesn't just have to be like Obama or Trump.
I don't think they did bring it up, though.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they did, but I was just so used to it. It's been 8 years, you know.
Yeah.
I've been kind of, like I said, numb to it, which is kind of sad to say.
No worries. So I remember you mentioned earlier that you're a little intimidated or felt shushed. Like, what makes you so intimidated, like, for speaking out? Is it just a numbers issue, or is there something else to it? I mean,
I just think because like I went to a high school where I feel like wherever I was always in the minority. So it kind of was a numbers thing, but also their language was like kind of threatening and like in your face. So if I were to say anything opposing them, it'll be like, you would hear just the room, you just hear like this inhale of breath, like, how can she say that? You know, so I kind of don't want to put myself in that situation if I'm going to be the only one. I feel like I want to be wise, but at the same time, you know, I do want to tell people that this is the truth, that it's very difficult to just keep that inside. Like with a philosophy class, that's the one where I feel like it broke me. It kind of made me, like, it told me that you just have to speak. Because the whole time, he was just berating the conservatives, the Republican Party, even Christians. And I felt like, gosh, this guy, he just, for the sake of my grade, I just want to get through it. And every day I had a huge headache. And just because I'm like, I'm trying to think of comebacks for him, like, what can I say? But I knew I would be alone. And every time people would go up to him after class, and I really didn't have time to hang around and debate with him. It's really not worth my time. So, and the way that he was just so angry, and that's what I felt with most people, like even in high school, they were just very angry. So you can't even have a conversation with people that are so emotionally driven or just enraptured in just emotion rather than the facts. So.
No, I agree completely. You said sometimes they'd get like in your face about it. Like, did it ever get violent, or was there ever any threatening language, or?
Well, I mean, other than that professor, he was just saying like cuss words, like if he could tell Trump something, it'll be "F you," or, you know. So how you
Very
gonna have a
professional.
conversation? Yeah, right.
UCF's best.
Yeah, but other instances, I think I was just too nice with people to actually, for them to do any of that, because then they would look like really bad people. Cause, you know, I'm very nice with people that even I disagree with.
That's good, by the way. That's how it should be.
I try. I honestly do try. But with that same girl, like, I don't know if you were there, but she was mentioning how she was going to see her family down the south in a certain state where they had Confederate flags, like in neighborhoods. And she was like, well, they're so racist. I don't know if I could talk with them because it's like her boyfriend's family or something. And I was trying to tell her that, well, they may have the flag, but that doesn't make them racist. You're kind of labeling a huge group of people, and it's your boyfriend's family, so you should be more open-minded about it, right? And she was like, oh no, there's a history, and because she was from the island, she takes it so personally with her being of darker skin. And I'm like, if you were historically from like America, where you're like, maybe you would feel a little offended, but it has nothing to do with your ancestor. She's just mad for the sake of being mad.
Yeah. So
I was trying to educate her that this is actually what the flag means. It's not actually racist, but, you know.
No, definitely.
Tend to, you know, agree, disagree.
I think we've talked about this too, because like I don't like the Confederate flag at all. Yeah. And it's mainly because like my minor at UCF was history, and they teach that a certain way. But I mean, even if I don't like the flag, I mean, to call people in 2018 racist for having the flag is ridiculous. Like they're not the ones who were fighting to succeed or anything like that. And once again, you can't even mention that specific situation. If you're dating a family member of the opposite race, like they'd be upfront about their racism if they were truly racist. Like no racist hides behind screen doors. Like they are very in your face about it. And I think that's the biggest issue we have today, is especially when people call it like Trump racist. Like you'll ask them, okay, what racist policy has he like presented? And they're like, no, that's not the point. It's his rhetoric. And I'm just like, okay, first off, I'm going to go into rhetoric in a second, but if you can't find a racist policy, like once again, racists don't hide behind this. Like FDR, who was a racist, like he made sure blacks couldn't be part of the New Deal. Like he made sure of that. You know, Lyndon B. Johnson, like we went over this last week, but you know, he talked about how he wanted, I'm not going to say the term, but I'll clean up the blacks' votes, you know, and keep them voting a certain way. I mean, like if we're so offended because we listen to the media, it's kind of ridiculous. And going on with like words too. You ask what has Trump ever said that's racist, and they always bring up this misquote about how we call Mexicans, and it's like no, he actually kind of said illegals. He didn't really say a certain race. And then they're like, oh, it's different. You know what he meant. It's like, no. Like, racists would be very direct about it. And I think that's the biggest issue is they want someone to be racist so badly just to be victimized. I mean, I don't know about you, but, and chime in after this, like, I see such a victimhood on UCF campus. I really do. Like, people who I would say about 70% of the campus vote, think, eat, breathe a certain way, and they're so offended that there's just 30% of us, I mean I don't know the actual number, but something like that I assume, is maybe not even just conservative, maybe just isn't liberal, and like that bothers them. The fact that we don't like praise Obama or like praise socialism, we're just like maybe that's not a good idea, and it really bothers them. Where to the point, like you said, they want to shut you up because they're so scared of a different idea.
Yeah, and especially when UCF is always praising, like the presidents in the past always praise that, oh, we're a diverse campus, we're all about diversity this, diversity that. Well, diversity is it's not just surface skin color, it's not just your religion, it's not just that, it's also your opinion too. I mean, that's like the biggest part of diversity, and I feel like if you just hang on to the skin color or anything else, that's being discriminative.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to tell people, and it's such a wild idea to them, like it blows their mind. And I'm like, but it's common sense. Like, how can you not know this?
I think that's the biggest difference. I mean, like, the Republican Party, historically speaking, and I think even to this day, they've never cared once about color, because they've always seen equality. I really believe that. I mean, that's to this day why I'm Republican, is because, I mean, I grew up in an area that, like, Pine Hills, for those who know, it's a very bad area, and I was actually the minority there, being white. Like, it's a very heavily black area. And, like, I remember the whole time, like, I didn't think, oh, no, I'm the minority or something like that. Like, I just was like, oh, my buddy RJ, like, he's awesome. Like, we go hang out, like, we play basketball together. And I always want him to be better and stuff like that and have, help him out and, like, make sure he improves his life like I do with all my friends, like I would do with you or, I mean, anyone watching. And, to the left, they would see, oh, this white guy and black guy are hanging out, like, what's going on there. And that's what bothers me. They see race and they still want to make it a big deal today. And I don't know, I don't see it. Like, I don't see it being an issue today. And, I mean, individual racism still exists. That will always be a thing. Yeah. But systematically, there's no racism anymore in the United States of America. And I really believe that. And once again, if you want, like, I tell everyone this, disprove me, show me a law. The only racist law I know of is where campuses hurt Asian Americans, actually. With their SAT scores. They actually lower their SAT scores. That is a racist law by definition. And and no one is marching for that, because, I mean, I've even asked people on campus how they feel about that who aren't Asian Americans, and they were like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. They never, they didn't go through, like, Jim Crow laws or something like that. I'm like, neither have you, though. Like, I understand, your ancestors might, and I really do understand that. But if we're getting to the point, like, even Italian Americans, they don't complain anymore. And their people were treated horribly when they first came over here. Yeah. Japanese Americans were in internment camps. And, once again, they're not going over that. Because if you act like a victim, you're going to be a victim. But if you act like a victor and have that mentality that you're going to succeed, more often than not, you will. And I think that's the biggest difference we see.
Yeah, like their biggest way to defend themselves is, oh no, it's institutionalized racism. Do they even know what that means? Because if that were true, there would still be segregated schools, there would still be segregated communities, which, I mean, other than, certain neighborhoods where, like, depending on income, but that's income. That's nothing to do with race. Yeah. And that's kind of been my high school life, is just the neighborhood. Like, if you look at the statistics online of the website of the high school, and they say that it was mostly white. But you actually go to the school, and what they don't tell you is that some of those whites are homeschooled. That's where the statistics come from. And most of the people in this school are, like, from Haiti or from the islands. So it's just they're totally changing the outlook of it. And when I talk with some students, they're actually racist toward me, but I don't see it as racism. I see it as, well, you're just not educated enough to understand better what you're saying. Because, like one girl said to me, like, oh, where are you from, Wisconsin? And then, and I'm like, what makes you think that? Oh, because that's where white people are from. And I'm like, are you serious? There. And what you think?
Yeah, it's one of the, like, at least guess, you know, like Western Europe or, I
Golly.
mean, I don't know. Wow.
It was a nice joke, though. Whenever I see her, I'm like, oh yeah, still think I'm from Wisconsin, huh? I see it as a joke, honestly. And other people that, let's see, this one girl, she's like, oh, white people, they have it so easy. What makes you think that? Oh, because you come from such nice families, and I bet, and she kind of mocked it the way she was, like her body language was. She was like, oh, I bet your parents, they say goodbye to you in the morning, and they make you breakfast or something, and I'm like, your parents would do that for you? I feel so sorry for you.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with your family?
We're making fun of, like, good values?
Yeah.
Like, shame on you for being successful and having parents that love you. God. Like, it's almost like they want it's the issue I have with the culture right now, especially like rap music and stuff like that. Like, once again, I listen to rap music, but you know, they love struggling so much, and they always talk about, like, they're so prideful to go back to, like, you know, what they call the hood and stuff like that. And I'm like, isn't the point to get out, make money, and then build up the hood so it's nice? So they, you know, like, there's no more gangs and all that. Like, we should be celebrating that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, once again, I come from a rough area, but like, I never once thought, oh man, I'm so glad I came from a rough area. Like, those people in gated communities don't understand how great it is. Like, no. Like, even right now, I'm working my tail off to make sure, you know, if I ever have kids, they're going to be successful and have a much easier life than I did. I mean, I didn't really struggle. I live in America. It's awesome here. But the point being is, like, that should be the goal, not to have this oppression Olympics where, you know, no, like, if you're the worst one off, you somehow win. Like, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just trying to do some sort of guilt card, because they're like, oh no, but you're privilege, you're white privilege, and I'm like, that is non-existent, that's a myth.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a huge controversial topic now, because they've been brainwashed to say certain things, and, you know,
Well, of course.
so I kind of feel bad for them. I pity them, you know, for thinking that. And also, some people think like you only go out with certain people, like from your kind. And that's what I heard from high school. Like, one guy, I guess he was joking, or I couldn't really tell, because it was such a strange thing to say. He was like, oh, I bet she only goes out with white people, with white guys.
Wow.
And he's Hispanic. And I thought, no, what makes you think that? If he's, you know, a good guy, yeah, I would go out with him if I love. But why should I have a conversation with you about, why should I defend myself? Who are you out of nowhere to say that about me?
Yeah. It's not like you're wearing like a white hood or, you know, something that, like, you know, you're like, it's ridiculous. Like, you're just dressed normal, and like, I mean, I know you have great manners, you're a very strong Christian, and like, and that's what you care about. I mean, you care if they're going to be a good future husband or a good future father, maybe, if you want to get into stuff like that. Like, you care if they're successful. You don't care about race.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is what I've always been talking about. Republicans is, typically, I won't speak for everyone, because I'm sure that there's a bad egg everywhere you go. There really is in both parties.
Yeah.
But, like, generally speaking, for Republicans, they don't care. The only time they mention race is when they're so, like, when Trump mentions it. Like, when he's so proud that, you know, African American unemployment is at a low, or when Hispanic unemployment is low because of him, and stuff like that. That's the only time you really hear about race, is when there's so, you know, he's so proud, because he does understand it's, you know, where minorities come from, historically speaking. And once again, that's why I think he's Republican. He's so proud of, you know, how different and diverse our culture is, and that we can all succeed here. But going on, you mentioned white privilege. Is that a big topic on campus? Like, how often is that thrown in your face, or?
Well, it's not really thrown. Other than, you know, people saying like, oh, like just here and there, you hear whispers of, you know, oh yeah, they don't struggle, or that one girl that we had in class, she was like, oh no, you never struggled, or something. But then the decisions that she made is what made her think that way. I mean, I don't want to judge, but I mean, she's the one that openly said that, oh yeah, I had a kid when I was, I had a kid when I was like 16, and then I had to get a job, and I was kicked out. So that's a decision that you made, that you made yourself. So, and she was proud of it. That's what I don't understand. Of course, you have to own to it, but other than that, I've just seen a lot of debates online on how to defend myself when that does come about. Other than also the posters that I see around campus about white guilt, and all that, and people tear it down and they think that, oh, it's such a terrible thing to say. How can you say that? But they don't even, like, do you understand what that even means? Honestly, I think at first that, is that even necessary to even have a poster? But you have to think maybe it is. I don't know, because people seem to think that, that whites are just terrible people, so.
Oh, yeah.
And for what happened in the past, and it's not even relevant anymore.
My thing is, like, they'll be the first ones to say, like, white Americans and stuff were the first ones to, like, do slavery and all that, which, one, isn't true. But they'll never mention the white Republicans who fought and died to make sure their black brothers could be freed. They'll never mention that. They'll never mention, Abraham Lincoln was a white guy. They'll never mention, our founding fathers fought and died to make sure that we could all be free and equal and get away from tyrannical big governments. They never mention all the good. They only want to focus on the individual bad. And once again, they don't even mention what party that was too. Because they say it was America. Yeah, I know. They always say it's America. No, like, there's a reason. Like, if it was all America, it would still be an issue today. It really would. But there was a constant battle from the very get-go about that slavery issue. Because, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Thomas Jefferson did not want slavery to be legalized. I mean, I'm pretty sure my research showed that George Washington was pretty anti-slavery and all that. I mean, founding fathers really believed that. They were just also some of the bad eggs. And then that's really what happened with the two-party system, too. I mean, besides the big government versus small government debate, is it became almost... The Republican Party started because they were anti-slavery. And that's really what happened with Lincoln and all that. And if it wasn't for the Northern Republicans, I mean, I don't know how free everyone would be even to this day. And once again, those weren't, black politicians or, anything like that. Like, they were fine in the streets, of course. I mean, I'm not going to discredit them, and I hope I don't come off that way. But without guys like Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant, there's no way all this would happen. I think we should be more thankful to them and appreciate how great our history is. And yeah, like you said, I don't like the whole sweeping term that America's racist when it was just one party.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like if people were to actually read their history, and if they care about it so much, and if that's all they ever talk about, then the least you could do is, like I said, just do your research, do your homework, because otherwise it's a losing argument. You're gonna make a fool of yourself.
No, definitely. Also, what I think is interesting is in my history classes, like, people are starting to forget what the Holocaust was, which is very disgusting. I mean, there's reports that...
That's surprising.
Yeah.
How can anyone ever forget?
It's barely... I don't think it's been 100 years.
No.
But, I mean, honestly, slavery is such a big... we never should forget any part of history, but we should never forget slavery and all that, and, like, that's one reason why we should continue to fight for equality, and I think we've gone very far, as close as we'll be. But we should also never forget, the Holocaust, because I do believe there's anti-Semitism to this day. I mean, we get attacked, especially, like, Trump gets attacked for supporting Israel and all that.
And that's bad.
And, by the way, they call this guy Hitler, but he supports Israel. This is the worst anti-Semite ever, supporting the Jewish, like, literally, all Soviet Jews. And I think he's honestly the best president for the Jewish people since probably Truman. Like, I don't think that's much of an exaggeration at this point.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that because no one really would praise them. And there was actually a convention, they showed snippets at a convention for, like, Black Americans, and this preacher, I'm surprised he's a preacher, he was talking against the Jewish people.
Yeah.
Very against, saying, like, the negative language and even the slurs and all that. I was just surprised that still even exists.
It's disgusting. I mean, they're the same people that support Hamas and call him a good guy. And it's just like he puts children in front of bullets. Like, let's not support this guy. Speaking of, have you ever? Because I want to keep going down more about UCF. There's a couple groups I want to talk about UCF. Have you ever heard of like Christians for Israel or Knights for Israel or anything like that? I know they're a little bit smaller of a group, but
yeah, they're banners. There are a lot of banners in the student union. I have seen them around. They have like a table, and there is also, I think, contrasting. There's a group that's trying to send money and books and education to Syrians that are trying to escape. And I signed up for emails because I want to know what's going on. But then when the election took place, they became more and more angry toward the wrong people.
Yeah.
The people are trying to help you in your cause, you're kind of, you know, you're losing here, because they're saying how, oh yeah, Trump is banning these Muslim countries, which was a big topic for a while. That's from them, and also the president of our university sent a letter out about, even though you hear something in the news, he didn't bring up Trump's name, but it's implied, like obviously it's who he's talking about.
Yeah.
But we're still inclusive here, we still embrace diversity here. I'm thinking, what nonsense is this? He's bringing up a political topic that has nothing to do with our university. We are inclusive, it's true. So why should he have to go out of his way to bring that up? It's baffling to me. And also this group who, they should be embracing people, and I was actually thinking of donating, but you know, how can I if they don't even they, you know, believe such fake media and they think that everyone is against the Muslim countries, and that's not even true.
No, I agree completely. I've actually had the honor of meeting Donald Trump Jr. And
really?
yeah, we talked about this a lot, and like I asked him, and he goes, "Man, it makes me mad because I have plenty of Muslim friends and all this stuff." And he goes, "My father's band, it wasn't even half of the Muslim countries. It was like a very small proportion, and what they won't tell you is all those Muslim countries have one thing in common: terrorism. They're literally screaming death to America. They're literally killing their own people, and it's very hard right now to tell who's coming over and who wants to infiltrate or have another, Boston bombing or do another pole shooting or, I mean, God forbid, another 9/11. It's very hard to tell who is the good ones and bad ones. And like we always talk about this in my history classes too, because for some reason political debate always happens there. And like I brought up the point that a lot of conservatives do, like if you had 100 M&Ms but only 20 of them were poisonous, would you grab a handful and bite? Remember, that's not everyone, but like, would you test it?
No.
And that's the point. I mean, once again, if I keep going back to this, like we are not racist people. Once again, like we want everyone to succeed and stuff. But we do have to take care of American people first. I think if we don't take care of American people first, that's horrific. Like we can't just welcome everyone, including people who come from very terroristic countries. I don't think that's a racist thing. I just think if you don't do bad things, we will accept you, regardless of skin color.
Yeah, and actually this has been done in the past. Even Obama was, in his campaign, well again, he did not fulfill his promises, unlike this current president, which he does fulfill his promises, it's very true. But Obama is running on building a wall too, and so did Hillary Clinton back in the day. And people have forgotten about that, how convenient. And also banning certain countries in the past. It happened, and there was no march, there was no protest before. The only reason why they bring it up now is because we have a president that actually cares about the American people. And I think it also has to do with him being a white male. I honestly think that too, because some people are they think they're so intimidated, and I don't see why. You should pick someone on their merits, not just on, like with Hillary Clinton, they want a woman in office so badly, they would want a criminal in there.
Yeah.
And I don't see her representing me as a woman at all. And actually, I don't even separate myself from other people because I'm a woman. I don't do that, because that's you're purposely trying to bring about segregation.
Yeah.
And that's not how you bring unity. People who do that are being very divisive and evil. That's my thing.
I agree completely. And the thing is, they want a specific woman too. They want a leftward woman. Because if you look at Nikki Haley, if you want a woman as president,
Oh my God.
done. Nikki Haley all day. If it has to be a woman, bring her up. She's awesome. But as soon as she starts talking, they talk about how aggressive she is and all this. Whereas if we would dare call Hillary Clinton aggressive, we're sexist. And same thing, like, I love Sarah Sanders. I mean, I don't think she has enough experience yet for president, but I'm very happy, like, she does phenomenal. Yeah, she does phenomenal with her job and all that. But, the LA Times and all that, they call her fat and all that. And I'm just like, so you can do it to conservative women, but God forbid, we call, like, Amy Schumer or something like that, maybe out of shape.
Yeah.
Maybe out of shape. Not even fat, just maybe, like, she could run, do something like that. Because, for health reasons. And it's like, oh, you're fat shaming, you're doing all this, you're not being said. It's just like, you just called Sarah Sanders a...
Yeah, they should look at a mirror, honestly.
We talk about it all the time because I remember, like, if you didn't like Obama, it was because you're racist or all this. It wasn't because he made, the economy horrific or he was doing unconstitutional things with healthcare and all that. It was because you're racist. But, I support Ben Carson. I'm a big fan of his.
Oh, yeah.
And once again, it's not because he's white or black or anything like that. It's because I like his values and morals. And yeah, also he's a genius, he's a doctor and all that stuff. But as soon as you bring him up, they would call him an Uncle Tom and all that. And
That was terrible. A mediocre. I heard a mediocre black man is what they call him.
yeah, and I was
terrible.
I was just like,
can't believe it.
you always talk about being oppressed. This guy, he grew up with a single mom. He made his own wealth. He didn't get any handouts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the American dream that you guys should be worshiping, and you guys being all Americans. Like, this is who we should be worshiping. Whereas, Obama, he had both parents and all this stuff, and I'm not taking that away. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, is to have that kind of success. But I mean, he acts like he grew up in Chicago and all this, and I'm just like, dude, you haven't seen a rough day in your life.
No.
I mean, I understand, like, he, kind of talk to his crowd to be relatable. I was like, there's no way you've ever said slang once. You went to, like, Harvard Law and all this. Like, like, you are a very smart individual. You're just doing it for the media.
And what has he done for the people of Chicago? Nothing. There's still the crime, the city with the largest crime rate.
Yeah.
And
Shocking that all that gun laws don't work there. Shocking.
Oh yeah.
I figured it'd
It
be
works,
perfect.
right?
Oh man, what a clown. All right. I do want to keep. Sorry, I know we have fun and talk and we go off on
Yeah.
tangents. Is there anything else that you want to mention at UCF? Like, is there anything that bothers you that you love? Maybe. I mean.
Yeah. I did bring up a little bit about women in politics or women in business and their roles. And that has been actually a huge topic on campus more often than not other topics. Like especially with the wage gap. Every time there's a speech going on, may it be in the College of Business, it's actually mostly in the College of Business. Every speaker that comes in, male, female, they have to mention the wage gap. As if trying to appeal to people. I don't understand that. Every time they say it, I'm like, you're just regurgitating, again, the same thing to win people
the same
over.
buzzwords that we all know.
Yeah, and then everyone knows, fact shows that is not true, and it only goes, like, there's just so many facts to prove that wrong.
Yeah.
And for me, if I were to stand up and tell them, no, you're telling a lie, just to win people over, I would be shamed for it. I would be probably kicked out. I don't know what would happen. That's why I try to keep quiet in those situations.
What I don't like about that conversation is because every time we talk about the wage gap, we always say the wage gap they're talking about isn't an average. It's not for every person's job. It doesn't account for that men go to dominate 4 out of 5 of the top degrees that make the most money, where women dominate the bottom degrees that make the lowest money in 4 out of 5 of them. And no one talks about that. They don't talk about how women typically in the prime of their life choose to be mothers. So they go out of the workforce while men continue to get, stay in the workforce in the prime of their lives where they're going to get bigger promotions and all that. That helps, that makes the gap even worse. So, and this is what I tell everyone because I discuss this at work. Like, my female boss, she was asking me about this because she knows I'm into politics. And I was like, well, you make, $15 an hour. And at the time I was an entry-level, salesman at a retail store. So and I was like, I only make like $8 an hour plus the commission. How come you make more than me if there's such a wage cap? And then she goes, oh, because like, I do more and I have more responsibilities. So I was like, exactly.
Interesting.
That's why. Like, you do more, you get paid more. Like, it's not a sexist thing. I was like, and if roles were reversed, like if I was a store manager and then you were just, an entry-level salesperson, there would also be a wage gap and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we discussed that a lot, and I wish they would understand that. Like, it's an average number. It's not for a per person job. Once again, if it was a per person job, no businessman would ever hire a guy. If we could hire women to do the same job for 25% discount, that's capitalism. There would be like women would thrive because they would be the only ones with jobs. No man would ever have a job.
Yeah, and people don't think that way. They think that the world is again this victim idea that they, instead of, like with Candace Owens, she says instead of being a victim, be a victor. Mm-hmm. Why put yourself in that mentality when you can do so much more? If you want to be successful, it's possible for you to do it. This is the best place for you to do it in America. Anywhere else, and people praise like the Muslim countries, and I'm like, do you know what women go through there? I really do want to know what you think. Because I see you're ready.
Yeah, go. I don't want to cut you off, sorry.
Oh, no. Like, they just allowed women to drive. That's only if their father allows them. And only during certain hours of the day. There's a curfew. So how can they praise that and they think the world's amazing there? And then here they think, oh, wage gap, it's terrible. You should put them in jail. How? Like, it's delusional.
I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this on camera. But a country that literally rapes women for not being with a man a country that to this day, most countries, I think Saudi Arabia would just praise their leader for letting women drive. That's what they're celebrating in 2018 or 17. I think it was 17 when they did it last year. Like they're praising this. So when I see feminists for Palestine, I'm like, where are you marching in the streets for them? One, they wouldn't be allowed to because their countries are Eastern civilization is horrific. Western culture is awesome. But like, where's that? Like, you think we have a wage gap? They can't even work. Like they're like men have multiple wives there. If you talk back, you're abused or beaten or worse, stoned. Like it's a horrific country. But they come over here and say, oh, we wish it was like that over there. I'm just like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like over here, once again, you can be a Nikki Haley. Like you really could be president if you are qualified. I mean, there's nothing divide. Like once again, we can do this. Like if we're in a Muslim country, you'd have to cover your body up because we're not married or something like that. Or your husband isn't around. Like it's that bad.
Or make eye contact, that matter.
Yeah, or make eye contact. I mean, I feel bad, but like even like I have a lot of Muslim friends in this country, and we talk about this a lot of times, and I sometimes talk about like, man, I'm very happy like you don't take the Quran literally. Because if you did, like, they would want to stone people and all this stuff, and like most Muslim countries do. And he goes, well, the thing is, like, and I've gotten told this a bunch of times, like, we're almost not even considered true Muslims the way we like practice our religion. Mm-hmm. He's like, we pray 5 times a day and all that, to Allah and all that. But I was like, man, like the way they treat women over there is disgraceful. And I was just like, see, you get it. Like that is a true American. Once again, practice whatever religion you want. Just don't kill people. I think we can agree on that. Like, just don't rape people for being, by themselves. Like, don't. By the way, they always talk about like Christians being, anti-gay and all this.
Oh my goodness.
So one, most Christians at this point in America really don't care. I mean, I really don't. Even if they don't believe in like, your marriage or all that. One, who cares? But two, they're just going to kind of turn the other cheek. The worst thing a Christian will do, typically, is pray for you. Oh no. Yeah. That's the worst thing that will ever happen, typically, is they'll pray for you. I mean, if there's a nut job out there, arrest that guy, seriously. If he's actually going to bring you, physically harm you, arrest him. He doesn't stand for Christians or anything like that, or Americans. But yeah, like the worst thing, they'll pray for you. If a Christian baker, doesn't want to bake you a cake, go somewhere else. Yeah. Seriously.
It just seems very manipulative and almost divisive. They were aiming for that baker.
Yeah.
To do
yeah. They drove over 200 miles. The case we're talking about is what happened to the Supreme Court. They drove over 200 miles to find this guy because they knew he wouldn't. One, not an issue, because if it was an issue, they'd go bankrupt. Just being honest.
Yeah. That's true.
And two, like there's so many gay bakers. Just go to one. They'll have a better cake anyways.
Yeah.
But my issue is, they complain about that, and how people like will say things like, well, we'll just pray for you and all that, whereas they never talk about, one, a Muslim baker would never do this. A Jewish baker probably wouldn't even do that.
That's true.
And Muslims, like in their country, like they'll literally stone you for what you want to do. But they'll say like, gays for Palestine, and I'm just like, you have like. Don't like I tell them like, please don't go over there. Like we disagree on a lot of stuff, but I don't want you to die. Like it's that serious over there.
Yeah, and the people that praise socialism, that praise communism, they like I asked them, okay, then go to Venezuela.
Yeah.
Try to live there. I honestly try. And celebrities have gone there and lived there, but again, they're the elite. They could afford to do that.
Yeah.
And they've been praised by the government there too. They're protected. But any other person like you or me would just starve and die, eat garbage.
That's the benefits of socialism. If you know the government people, you're fine because they control the money. They get all the money through taxes. Mm-hmm. And I like that you pointed that out. A lot of people, they go from Venezuela to here, or Cuba to here, or
here.
Exactly. I mean, there's very rare that people from America will ever, especially not there, but even like the places that aren't like fully socialist but have various high socialist policies such as Sweden and all that, there's a reason why Americans don't even go there. They'll visit for vacation because we're American, we like to travel, and like once again we have so many diverse people. Like some people want to see their future home from ancestors or stuff like that, but they'll never move there. They won't dare. No matter how bad this country is. And that's what kills me too. Like if this was a truly, once again, and I use this example, if this country, say, I'll use whites for example, if this country really hated white people, I would move immediately. Like not even a second thought. Like, and I tell people that if you're truly that miserable, like I want to debate with people. I would never ask someone to leave because I disagree. But if you truly think it's that racist, why not just go?
Yeah.
Like go. I don't know where they'd go. We're the least racist country in the world. I mean, this is proven through surveys and stuff. The typical American does not care who lives next to them. As long as they're an American and aren't gonna, commit crime. That's like the biggest thing.
Then I would be concerned to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's like a criminal next to me. Sure.
Yeah, but there's surveys that show, like, in Europe countries, like, they care about race. They do. And it's because, like, you go to, like, say, England, and it's like, there's not much diversity there.
No.
I mean, now they have Muslim refugees, which are causing, certain events, through knives and car bombings. But besides that, like, it's pretty much just, European white people there. Or such, like, a lot of Americans talk about Canada. One, you couldn't even immigrate to Canada because you don't have a job or anything like that typically, because I remember after the election of Trump, a lot of people tried. But even like in Canada, they're talking about their dream place. And I know a lot of UCF students talk about Canada all the time for free healthcare and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, they talk about Canada being the dream, and it's just like, man, you have no idea. Like, they would, actual Canadians don't like Justin Trudeau. They're tired of it because their cities are actually getting bombed by refugees as well too, and the media just doesn't report it. And their taxes are being taken. I mean, the healthcare system there sucks. Like people can't get covered. I mean, and that's that's free healthcare. That's government healthcare for you. But
sooner or later, you're gonna run out of money. Right?
Yeah, that's the thing about socialism. You will eventually run out of someone else's money. All right. I actually don't have any more questions for you. Was there anything else you want to bring up about UCF or anything like that?
Oh man, I'm just triggered. But for the sake of time, I feel like we went over a lot though. But with UCF, don't get me wrong, it's still a great place to go if you do want to go there to study or to pursue any type of degree you want. They do have a lot of degrees.
Ginormous school.
Yeah, it's like 66,000 or maybe more. It's climbing. We're like the largest university in the nation.
Yeah.
So. But I think people should be willing, this is kind of a call to people, you should be willing to have a conversation.
Yes.
In the past, I kind of regret not speaking out when I knew I should have. I gritted my teeth and I tried to just bite my tongue and not say anything for the sake of safety and keeping my grade. But if you're speaking for truth, it really shouldn't matter. So that's my message to people, is to just speak the truth, because it's needed nowadays.
Agree.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on our show. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've been the AC Report. Have a great day, guys.
Bye.